Okay, call to order the Lowell City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, March 1st, 2022 at 7 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bennett,
Here.
Councilor Harris,
Here.
Councilor Weathers.
Here.
Councilor Stratus is absent.
Okay. We have a quorum. Okay. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anybody have any addition changes to the agenda? Hearing, not seeing any. Okay, we don't have a consent agenda. With that. Okay, we have any public comments? Oh, you have anybody signed up or anything?
I have 2 people signed up.
Okay,
I also have a written comment sent by email.
okay,
So I'll call off the names first on the sign up sheet, and first is Lon Drop.
Can I sign up?
Yes, we'll get to the Zoom attendees in just one moment.
Okay.
Members, Ron Drive, 306 North Damon. 2 weeks ago, we had a community member pass away, Ron Ballinger. So we just want to kind of pass the information here. He's been an instrumental part of the city. He worked at the food pantry. He actually helped build the hall, built the fire station that we moved over to, and it's been a big person in the community. So I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. As far as I know, there might be a service coming up in about a month and a half out at the Fall Creek Church, but don't have the confirmation on that yet. I've been talking with Joe and his wife. When I have more news, I'll make sure it gets passed on. That would do.
Thank you.
he was a sweet, sweet man. It's sorry to see him go. He was a big part of Lowell and the fire department especially.
Your next sign up for the sheet is Burr, my apologies.
I'm going to expound on Ron Ballinger. He died of cancer. But he was a staple person in the community. Fire department, the lunch program and food program, and he contributed immensely in all directions. And we just wanted to reconfirm and or confirm that he is going to be missed.
Yeah.
That's all I can. Thank you.
I agree with you there. He was a tremendous person. Okay. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Next.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'll go turn it over to anybody on Zoom who is here to make any public comment. You're free to jump in.
Can I make a public comment?
Yes, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Jerry Valencia, 11 North Alder.
Okay, go right ahead.
I would like the city council to get together and have a rediscussion of the downtown plan. If we're going to be able to get going on what we need to get going on, that we're all on the same page. And especially since I was never involved in the finalization of this, so that that in layman's terms, that we can get something going. And with the downtown plan that you guys actually have right now, I never got involved in this, nor did I get any what I would call notification that you guys were adopting this. I've had a discussion with Don about this, and he's more concerned about the cost of revising it. But at the end of the day, I think that we should be chit-chatting with all the stakeholders, which would be the school district, the Jimmy that owns the market, my property, and Jason Preniveau, and you guys as well. So I think that we should at least get together and create a plan so that we can all discuss what we're all trying to get to.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything you want to add, Mr. Powell? Okay. Okay, thank you, Jared.
Okay, is there anybody else who's joining via Zoom who would like to make any public comment? Okay, Mr. Mayor, prior to the meeting, I did receive a written comment and request to add during public hearing, and I'll bring it up.
Jeremy Cottle from bkaiserllc@gmail.com said, Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, 1:20 p.m. to Jeremy Cottle, CC. Leslie Kaiser. Subject: Lowell City Council regular meeting, March 1st, 2022. Read Agenda Item 5. Motion to approve a long-term residential right-of-way use agreement with Lowell Investment Properties, LLC, and to authorize the city administrator to sign. Mr. Jeremy B. Cottle, City Administrator. For our telephone discussion this morning, by this email we are respectfully requesting the Lowell City Council postpone action on this evening's agenda item No. 5 until we have had time to read and consider the proposed action. The basis for our request is as follows. 1. We are the owners of the single-family residence located at 68 West 2nd Street, one of two properties adjacent to the City of Lowell utility easement, sometimes referred to as the alleyway, on which Lowell Investment Properties is requesting a long-term residential right-of-way agreement. 2. For as far back as anyone can remember, 1946/47, this easement has provided and continues to provide the only access to our property. 3. Section 2.413(3) of the Lowell Revised Code, LRC, states that the City Council must find that a grant of the long-term right-of-way permit would not be detrimental to neighboring residents of the applicant. 4. We had no knowledge of the request for a long-term residential right-of-way use agreement with Lowell Investment Properties, LLC, or the motion to approve said request until yesterday morning, February 28, 2022. 5. Discussion between the City of Lowell and Lowell Investment Properties, LLC regarding this request began in May of 2021. Yet during that time period, no one from the city or Lowell Investment Properties, LLC informed us of the request or sought our input. Agreeing to postpone action on agenda item No. 5 will allow us time to learn more about the proposed use agreement, consider possible detrimental impacts, weigh alternatives, and prepare and submit public comment. Sincerely, Bob Kaiser and Leslie Dixon Kaiser.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Council comments? No staff reports, no old business, new business, presentation on recommended burning regulations. Mr. Cawley, you want to introduce our guest?
We have scheduled to make a presentation tonight Fire Chief Landrat. Come on up.
Mr. Mayor, council members. Several years ago, I know that the city has made a change to the burn regulations. It's gone away from a little more stringent than what El Rapa has. For the fire district, I'm kind of asking you to revamp that again, not to be necessarily more strict, but to lessen it a little bit. Mainly it's on the months. And go back to the same way that El Rapa currently is, which is August 1 all the way through June 15th. But with this new burn rules and regulations, how I'd like to be able to restrict it is by one, making piles smaller. So right now, El Rapa does not have a size of a fire. It can be any size. What I want to do is bring the entire fire district to a 4 foot by 4 foot fire. It helps keep it under control a little better. We don't have to worry about things spreading too fast out of it. So a 4 by 4 by 4 foot high would be the max that we would like to see in the regulation. As well as making it where it has to be 25 feet away from a structure and 15 feet away from a fence. This can help us from not spreading it to our homes or fences or our neighbor's house. With that regulation, it's going to limit a lot of the properties in Lowell proper. There's going to be a lot of the smaller properties that's not going to be allowed to burn because they won't have the space to do it, which will help eliminate some of those, a lot of smoke within the various city limits. It would also have a 6 foot diameter circle cleared out around it so that nothing within 6 feet of that can catch on fire also. And those would all be upheld by the fire department. We would be the ones that go out and make sure they're doing that. The only thing we would ask is if we had somebody in violation, that it comes back to the city for getting a citation and whatever the city chose as a citation. By opening it back up to the regular time frame as everybody else, it'll make it easier to have those smaller piles and get them all out of the way before we get to summertime. I talked with El Rapa as far as some of the possible concerns, the smoke nuisance. And even they said the smoke nuisance is something that really doesn't get enforced because they really don't have a great way of measuring it. Everybody's going to say that it affects them differently. But overall, just a smell is not necessarily a nuisance if it's just smoke versus if it's plastics and garbage. So in your package, you should have a kind of a copy of the rules and regulations that I'd like to have enacted, but I like it to be within the full fire district so that we can also make sure that we're keeping one set of rules. Right now, we have 2 different sets of rules for the fire district. We follow El Rapa pretty strictly. The cities is more constrictive, so we have to always remember the dates and work with Max for when we have people we've educated. My first thing is to go out and educate, and then if it do it again, then we start looking at fines. It doesn't change anything as far as what you can burn. You still can't burn trash. You can't burn plastics or anything like that. It's only yardy debris. You also can't burn leaf piles or cut grass. That's a little bit different than our current one. In our current code, it actually says you can't burn it. And the next line down, it says you can burn it. So we have a little bit of conflict in our current one that the city has. I just want to kind of clean that up a little bit. So I just wanted to bring that to you guys. Like I said, it should be in your package. You can read over it. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And I go from there.
How would do you have it, you probably have it in here, how the months would change,
Sorry, what was that?
how the months would change?
Right now it's October, month of October, and then March, April, May. And it would go to October 1 all the way through till when we close fire season.
Just the way the normal,
The way that the rest of the county is,
Right.
except in the city.
yeah, that's what I thought, okay, good.
So it just gives them more chance to burn, since we're also asking for those piles to be smaller.
Yeah,
Any questions? Okay, the reason for the ordinance in the first place was to support Oak Ridge. And so we restricted burning in November, December, January, February. That was the worst months for them. So we were in support of them. The last couple of years, they've gone to selling and using dry wood more and doing a bunch of other things, which makes that a whole lot better. The other thing that we did at that time was we put in a green pile at the wastewater plant. Well, that's no longer down there. So now we got accumulation, and it really, if you got a pickup truck and you can take it to Lang County, then you're ahead of the game. But if you don't, if you're relying on your car, you're kind of short on luck.
Yep.
And so and you do most of the enforcement of the smoke and things like that. So I would agree with what he's saying, that I don't know if we rescind the an ordinance or take that back out and just say that we'll abide by the fire department directives and things like that in El Rapa. I think that we should probably consider that.
So El Rapa is still part of this, so everybody will still have to confirm whether it's an El Rapa burn day. They say it's not, then they won't be allowed to burn.
Yeah.
And the other part that we're gonna be a little more stringent on is El Rapa usually gives a time frame from 9 o'clock to like 4 o'clock right now. At 4 o'clock, the fire has to be out. So right now, we have a lot of people that still come in at 5 or 6 o'clock and burning into the evenings, where we're gonna be a little more stringent on cutting that off. So it's kind of being a little more stringent, like I said, but yet at the same time, it's allowing us to get rid of that waste. Like you said, the green waste is gone. We've had a lot of action going on in the city for wildfire mitigation. And the more homes that we can get cleaning up their yards and getting rid of it early enough, it just helps that mitigation.
And get ahead of it. The
What do you
question,
mean in favor of Oak Ridge?
what's that?
What do you mean in favor? in
Well, Oak
support of
Ridge, they had some high,
I mean, you thought the smoke from here was going up to Oak
Yeah.
Ridge?
exactly, because, we're at the, and if you talk to Oak Ridge, they said that they weren't generating all the pollution. It was coming from up the valley. And so the first place up the valley from them is us. And so at one point they were, I think they even put a sensor reader over by your station there to read what it was and everything. And I wanted to we kind of wanted to get ahead of the game where we didn't want a sensor in this town so that we could say, okay, it's all coming from Lowell, not Springfield, Eugene. And so it was kind of a corrective action that we took, preventative action, should I say, to get ahead of it. But it seems like El Rapa, yourself, and with what Oak Ridge is doing, it doesn't seem to have be as important as it was 4 or 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, since they went through that process, they've made a lot of changes up there. And a lot of those changes have made a big impact on their area. So, it's kind of hard to really say where that was really coming from. Anybody's guess if it was coming from all the way down here, Westford, or any of the other areas. But a lot of it was within their own city. It wasn't being regulated. So, and that's one thing that we follow pretty closely, is we try to make sure it's regulated. The only thing that's important to us is that we catch the person doing something wrong. I don't want to show up at their house and say, well, somebody told me that 2 days ago you were burning. I mean, that I can educate that way, but I don't have any grounds to do any follow-up if I don't catch them. So it's important we get out there and educate our people well. And I think that it's not going to impact Oak Ridge from us. Going back to that, once again, it's not really going to change a whole lot. The people that are already not burning are going to continue not to burn. And there's going to be probably a few homes that may be restricted because of the size of their property, but that just means that we're being that much safer.
Well, I think the other thing that was going on was, I think the kind of restrictions you're putting in with the size and everything else will probably actually meet some of what we were trying to do at the time in terms of the smoke in town. There were complaints about that. And so, I like this because I think we can be less restrictive and still, manage some things and we just didn't have those
And
tools at the time.
the complaints are not going to go away.
No, I know that.
This will not keep the
No,
complaints
I don't
away.
expect
We're
that.
still
I'm
gonna
just
have
saying
complaints, but
that's why we tried to do something different, or one of the reasons we tried to do something different.
So what you're saying, the fires should be smaller if they can do them more frequently, instead of save it for months and months and months than do one big one.
Yeah,
And also then if we're gonna be a larger fire, like you say, if you put restrictions about fence lines and things like that, and what help, what it looks like the burn area, so.
I mean,
Yeah.
and there are people that don't want anybody to ever burn, so.
Right.
You can't.
It's
fix
actually-
that.
it's very healthy for us to burn our debris. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a good thing and it is an inexpensive thing. And we're far enough away from town. It definitely offers something to our community members that want to be able to do it and do it safely to be able to do that.
And you're a small town, you've got Dexter over there, and you got other places that, the people out in the country, they're burning, and you've got the slash piles up on the hill, so, but the thing that I see that, is the white smoke coming out of the chimneys, whenever it's probably green wood. And,
And we don't have control over that.
and usually, that's associated, there's waivers if you're low income, that you can burn green wood and make smoke, so some of these places you look at and you realize that if you brought some sort of action, you would be just chasing your tail, so. Any other questions? Anything? Anything, Gail?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Lon.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Lon.
Next up, number 2, feedback and direction for the city council and community survey on law enforcement. Mr. Powell, why don't you kick this off?
Yes, this is following up on a conversation we've been having since January about the question of law enforcement services within the city. At your last regular meeting, I presented a recommended calendar for public outreach and engaging the community. And the next step in that was to broadcast a community survey on law enforcement. And I've prepared something here that's in your packets. It's very basic and it's designed to gauge the concerns that citizens have, the priorities that they have for services, as well as their willingness to pay. And I've developed something on a survey tool called Survey Monkey. And I'll just see if I can pull it up here and you can see what it would look like. That's the one. He's going to want me to go through a verification process, so we won't bother with that. But it's a website. The questions are the same here. It asks about, do you feel safe? What do you think are the greatest problems? What level of service do you want? We have everything from 2 officers who could provide service 7 days a week, 1 officer who could do 3 to 4 times a week, probably work mostly during the day doing community policing, investigations. We could hire a private security company, or we could keep things as we are, or have something else. We asked the citizens, would you support a property tax or fee increase to pay for it? How much would you be willing to pay? You reside within the city. Is there anything else you'd like us to know? If there's an overwhelming response, my recommended next steps would be to have a town hall meeting where we invite the agency that provides the service that people want to speak to the community. And then we can have a more in-depth discussion about the costs that are going to be involved and see if the community wants to go from there. If there's anything you'd like to change, you can let me know tonight. Anything else you want to know, I'll put it on Facebook, the city webpage. I might send a letter to the residents, letting them know that the survey is out there. What questions do you have for me?
Go ahead.
What was your reasoning for not including an estimated cost for those options?
That's the first route that I went. And then it started to get very cumbersome and complicated and wordy and difficult to explain.
What, just a dollar amount?
Well, it's not just a dollar amount, it's a dollar, if it's a property tax,
No, I
then
meant just the cost of the service.
Like the total overall cost?
Yeah.
So,
Because I just don't think people have any, they just don't have an understanding what that total amount is.
okay, so
You
like,
don't need to calculate it out to price per $100
Gotcha.
on your house.
so for this one right here, for example, we put hire 2 officers at an estimated total annual cost of 400,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And 1 officer would be about 160. Private security would be 120 or 30. Keep things as they are, that's $40,000. So yeah, that's pretty easy to put in there.
And at least they'd have,
Yeah,
that would give
something.
them some realization of the magnitude, because they're gonna be smart enough to know that somewhere that's gonna have to get paid for.
Divided by the 450 or 475 homes. That way
No,
they can get
It'd
a
be
better
on
feeling.
taxable value.
What's that?
It'd be on taxable value. It'd be
Yeah,
probably-
but still it'd be,
But I don't think you wanna put that in here.
okay,
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's where it's gonna get so complicated. I
Yeah.
think if you just give them the picture of what it's gonna cost per year to do those things, then when we get into the town hall, we can start talking about what it's gonna cost them individually.
Yeah, that's a easy piece of information to add.
I think, we heard the talk by Cresswell, they're 5,000 people. And they spend $1 million on their policing. And Oak Ridge, they're 5,000 people, they spend $1.1 million. So you start looking at us, we're 1,000 people. What can we afford? But I think that we need to send it out. We'll see what the results show, and we'll go from there, like you say. We can do a town hall after that and see how it works. And I think that's probably the best way of doing it, where you have it there. People can log in, type in what they want at the leisure of their own home.
Okay, and I'll also put that if people don't have computer access, they can come into City Hall and get a paper survey to turn in.
Sounds good. Anything else, anybody?
Can you also have that be able to be downloaded from the website as well? Or not?
We could, my concern would be if somebody, there's the risk somebody could try to game it,
Yeah.
do an internet survey and then turn in a paper survey.
Well, is there anything to keep somebody from filling it out on SurveyMonkey twice?
There is,
There is.
if you do it on your computer and then you try to do it again, it'll say you already filled out the survey.
Because of the computer?
Yeah,
Okay, so they can go to another computer.
they can.
I just wondered. Yeah. Okay, then never mind.
Got everything you need? Okay. Number 3, motion to approve grant agreement with Ford Family Foundation. It's on paper there.
We got some excellent news that the Ford Family Foundation is going to give us a gift of $191,466 for the library construction project. And I'm asking for your approval of a grant agreement with them so that we can get our money.
And no strings attached, except to do what we are supposed to do.
Except to
with
do
the
it.
money.
There is that.
I just meant there's no match.
Right.
Any questions on Mr. Cottle? Comments?
Except that thank you for all the hard work. I know it got started before you came, but you finished it up and you got it. And I know that was a lot of work, so appreciate the hard
Thank you.
work on it.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a grant agreement with the Ford Family Foundation for the Maggie Osgood Library in the amount of $191,466 and to authorize the city administrator to sign.
Okay, we have a motion second. Further discussion? Damn, it's nice getting to this point in this whole process. All those in favor of motion to approve grant agreement with the Ford Family Foundation for the Maggie Osgood Library in the amount of $191,466, and to authorize the city administrator to sign, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Sign the paperwork. Page 14 is review of budget committee applicant. Mr. Connell.
We have 3 openings on the budget committee. We asked members of the community to apply for the openings to serve on the budget community or committee in the bridge. In response, we received an application from Lisa B. Wilson. At this meeting, you may vote to appoint Lisa to the budget committee.
She's a good person. She's well qualified to be on that. Should be a great addition. Any questions of Mr. Cottle before we develop a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Lisa Wilson to the budget committee.
I'll second.
We have motion second, further discussion. Hearing those, all in favor of appointing Lisa B. Wilson to the budget committee, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Not hearing any. We're lucky to have her. She's an active person in the community. Next up on page 17 is the motion to approve a long-term residential right-of-way. Mr. Cowell, we've started on this a little bit. You want to continue on it?
Yes. My RLAV's not working. Let me look at Google Maps. So we can look at the location in question.
Of course it is. I'm easily.
This is an application from the owner of 103 North Shore Drive to access an city-owned alleyway off of West 2nd Street so that this property could have legal access to the road. This discussion started about a year ago. The applicant reached out to the county to inquire about access off of North Shore Drive. They suggested that the applicant approach the city about going through the alleyway due to the difficult permitting process of accessing this county road, which is a major road. The application is in your packet. This area is the alleyway in question. It's about 20 feet wide. Staff have deemed that the application is complete. This is coming before City Council because section 2.413 of the Lowell Revised Code authorizes the City Council to give a long-term permit for use of public rights of way. The applicant is also here tonight if there are any questions for them, or if council wants to allow them to make a statement on their application.
If you want to speak, you may. You come on up.
Jimmy Martini, 149 West Main. Like Jeremy said, we started this process about a year ago, notified via the county that access off of North Shore to 103 North Shore was not that possible, and they recommended us going to the avenue of getting a right-of-way permit off the alley off 2nd Street. And it's my understanding is that the only thing that will change is that we will, at our expense, put rock down and maintain the access. There'll be no obstruction to the current residents, current tenants, or anything like that. It's just access to the house, and that is it. Let's probably see a few more cars on occasion. My guess is that the access off North Shore is still open, and the county does not shut that off. Most of the access will go through that. But we need to make sure we do have access to that property just in case that does at some point.
Any questions?
Yeah, so this 101 North Shore next to it, that looks like it's combined with the bridge town property. now.
Yeah, so there's
Did
two
you go
lots.
through that?
Yeah, that was
process?
our process, yeah. So 101 North Shore no longer exists. It's
Right.
now just, I think, 133 North Moss.
When was that?
Before the process to build the house, it's been over a year.
Okay, that's. interesting.
So that's all one
Well,
lot
when you
now.
bought the property.
No. So we bought the two lots adjacent, took down the manufacturer's own. One of the lots we're using for parking for the market and a fuel tank, and the other one we're gonna use for.
Okay. So do you plan on accessing then the market parking, the 101, what, it's not 101, 133, something like that, on the, off the alleyway as well?
Only if the access off North Shore is shut down, then yes. And we are one of 3 properties that it's adjacent to that.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so it,
So you have the post office, the residents, the people that wrote the letter, and us. There are 3 borders to that alley. We're one of them.
but did I understand you to say that if something got, if what got shut down, then the
The
store,
access off North Shore, it's my understanding that we've never permitted access
even to the store?
to anything.
Okay, so,
Well, there's the store entrance that one off right there where Jeremy's got his mouse. And then 101, 103 North
Right.
Shore is that one.
that one's never
That's the
been.
one that was never permitted.
But I guess what I think you said, and maybe I just misunderstood. We don't have to worry about the store, any of the store traffic being down that alleyway.
Well, that's an employee parking lot there, and they're currently using access off North Shore.
Oh, gotcha.
So
So
if
if
that
they
does
shut
go
that
away, but
down,
I don't
Yeah.
anticipate it, but you never know.
right,
So, yeah,
You're
it is
just-
possible.
you're doing the
yes.
legal
Yes.
thing that,
I would bank on that.
Which is what we're doing.
bank on what?
That
The
going
county
away at some
doesn't
point.
want access onto the
Yeah.
finger, actually.
Well, right, you mean you'd bank on them shutting that down?
Yeah,
Someday.
they're not gonna permit it,
No, I know that, but the point is it's there and
The
but it's not
comment-
permitted.
The comment I got from the county was if they ever went back through and did some road improvements and noticed that access, they would shut it down. That's the comment.
But you think that if that happened, it would be employees that would use that alleyway?
Employees and the house as well. That's the
Right,
only
yeah,
access to the
well,
house.
yes, I
But
mean, the
yes,
house is a given, but,
yes.
okay. And how
There's-
many
there's
employees
a-
do you have?
We have probably 4 cars there at any one shift. They'll come in at 6, leave at 2, and then we got another shift coming on at 2 that leaves at 10.
Okay,
I mean, it's just a couple times a day. It's not like it's gonna be a major.
and there's no way you could make that accessible through your current the employee parking?
Probably not for the house, no.
No, I don't mean for the house, I mean for the employee.
It's possible for the employee parking.
I mean, it's
It's
just,
gonna be an expense.
yeah. I mean, it's not gonna be that much, but I was just curious what other options there were.
Well, the other option would be where that tree's at, and that's actually county property as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, there are hurdles there that may or may not be achievable.
But currently, you guys would be the only ones using it, besides the current. Okay. Thanks,
thank you.
Jimmy.
At this point, I'm not, I'm neither for nor against this, I have to say. But I would like,
Do we have more testimony?
what's that?
Do we have more testimony?
No, he, just that letter he wrote, read.
Okay, nobody
That was it.
online that they're gonna speak.
But I
They're
don't know
online,
if they have
but-
anything else to say, but I'd like for the 2 owners either to work with Jeremy or together. So it sounds like right now there's a little bit of friction between them. And I tell you, there's nothing worse than having 2 neighbors that don't agree. And we had a case up on Sunridge earlier this year, or I guess last year, where we had some 2 neighbors that didn't understand what was going on. And I think that may well be in this case that that one neighbor isn't fully understanding what all is being asked and what's going to be done. And I think that I think there needs to be a meeting of the minds between those. And like I say, I'm not against giving the right of way, but I think I'd like to put it off till the next meeting.
Well, and I called Jeremy today because what I'm used to, I thought this was actually a land use issue. I mean, I'm not a land use attorney, but it certainly is about access. And to me, in my lay member's brain, it is. And with regard to that, then you're required to notify within a circle of
So many homes.
so many feet, I think, 350 feet or something like that. People in the area. And so I just think even if that's not the law, when we have these things, that should be something that we should do, and Jeremy agrees, you know.
So that, I think that, you know, I think that people need to understand what's going on, when it's going on, and what the benefits will be, and what the impact will be. And I just think that the more information needs to be out there on this. And like I say, I'm not against giving the right to the right of way, but I think that I would like to, because if he's got property there and he can't get to it any other way, then, you know, the city shouldn't have the property available in the first place. So I think the
Well,
city.
Don't we have the question, is this part of the downtown plan as well?
I'm not sure how that plays into this, but we can bring that back into.
That doesn't have anything to do with it.
But it's also, we're probably gonna need to consider granting the access, legal access to the 68. I didn't realize they were landlocked except for that alleyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always seen the garage there, but I never drove down.
Well,
front
it's
of
the
his
way
house.
that the house and the garage were built. I mean, if you look at it,
Yeah, their garage.
I
believe, is
don't
perpendicular
disagree
to
that,
drive.
everybody
so.
needs to understand. I guess I want to say out loud, it is a city alleyway. And so all parties have equal, right to have that access. I don't think that,
Yeah, I don't think we can restrict
there's a-
access to it in any way, but
No, but
if we're doing a long-term agreement, I'd like to.
well, I
have,
think both parties need that long-term agreement, and then, I mean, the impact on the the 68 that's the lot that they're on, and it's next to that alleyway, and that's, I don't know. I just think that they both have to have access, and
Is it also a part of the downtown plan? That's the question.
no, has nothing to do with that, Jerry.
But yeah, because everybody wasn't notified, I'd be perfectly willing to, obviously, you've been working on it this long. I think you'd probably think the same thing in reverse. If you got notice a couple days prior to the city council meeting, you probably want to have a minute.
We're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Right
I,
away access for the agenda would be great.
Like I say, I'm not
Yeah,
against
I
it.
was-
I just think that, you need a good neighbor, and
I've met him before.
yeah, so, everybody likes to have good neighbors. Yes, Max.
Can I shed
Sure.
some light on this, Jeremy, for fun with that? So, you spoke correctly, these are alleys or utility easements specifically for the city. This one just happens to have our sewer main in it, which serves those properties. And a little background on how not this specific situation is, we were in the process of going through and rehabbing all the alleyways, and there's many of them in town, mostly to serve sewer. Specifically on the north side of town, they're all 20 foot, they all stretch street to street. And what came up is I was looking through the alleys, because we call them right away, and I seen there was a long-term residential right-of-way permit filed in there. There's only one with the entire city filed. It is close to this location. But one thing I will say is you can look around town and all of the alleys are used to access people's backyards. Parking, which is similar to the situation here where they're accessing their garage.
Mhm.
The Grange accesses their parking lot from the alley. But the main objective of them is, for access for public work and then also for fire safety. It's an easy way to get to the back of the property. The reason that the right-of-way permit came up is what we don't want is for somebody, that property there at the end of the right-of-way, there could be a fence put there, right? Because it's the two joining properties. which if we did that, obviously they would be landlocked themselves off of that. But we don't want to take away from the ability for one public works to be able to access the manhole that's there or the water utility that's there. And that's for any of the alleys in town. You know, we want to keep them in a thoroughway. So one of the things that got brought up would be, yes, for the other property to also look at a long-term right-of-way residential permit, and there's a process for it. But yeah, if you look, there's a lot of properties in town that specifically between First and Fourth Street that use the right-of-ways to access either their backyard or they park their camper back there. We don't have any time allow parking them at all. Somebody parks them on, we'll have a code because it is for public works, it is there for fire safety. So yeah, just so everybody knows, you know, they are available to the public. So there's no confusion on it. We're not, by allowing this, and like the other one we have similar to this, we're not giving them the property, we're not giving them exclusive rights to the property. All we're saying is that this property in question can use that for their legal access. It wouldn't change anything. We would get a little bit of maintenance out of it, obviously, with this written in this agreement. But I agree, I what you get brought up, I think we need to maybe just step back, make everybody aware, because I think there's some confusion that, you know, maybe we're giving this property to them, or maybe, you know, we're still retaining possession of the property.
Right.
It's not still going to be city owned, still going to be a sewer main right through the middle of it.
Well, it'd be a good teaching opportunity about
will.
all the others, why the right
Well,
ways are
there's
there.
a handful of properties that use
Yeah.
it for legal access. There really is.
Yeah.
I could think of three of them just off my head. But there is one filed with the city. It was filed a very long time ago, and that's the only one. That's filed
I'm surprised there's one.
with the city. Yeah.
Bet you were too.
Okay.
I suggest we postpone this until we get feedback from Mr. Cottle, from the neighbors and input from the surrounding area, and then we can bring it back for discussion and possible action.
But yeah, what I'll do if council wants to postpone this is I'll get some letters sent out tomorrow. And we can schedule a public hearing on this matter at your next meeting on March the 15th.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's fine. And so if we have a public meeting on March the 15th, does that mean we cannot, do we have to wait another meeting to vote on it?
No. You could approve it at the same meeting.
Okay. But that would allow for education.
Correct.
Next up is number 6, page 40, motion to authorize city administrator to sign a donation agreement and temporary construction easement with safe routes to school. Good people.
Boy, but I tell you, what a lot of rigmarole to do something between two public agencies. I am astounded. I just can't believe that two public agencies can't get together on something without having to file all this paperwork. That just, I can see it with
Are you
a
doing it for the school?
commercial or a, you know, I'm astounded. Not a good thing.
That's the reason little towns
Good
don't
old
do
red
things like
tape.
what's being done in this one. We can't afford to do everything that they do with the planning and everything else that goes on.
Should be an MOU that's one page, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever. Blah, blah, blah.
That wouldn't make too much
Get off my
sense.
lawn.
Mr. Cottle, you want to speak of safe routes to school?
Yes. This is a construction easement, and I'm asking for city council's approval of this tonight so that they can access our property. Then in sidewalks around the East Main Street, as well as the right of way that we recently acquired on 70 North Pioneer Street. That's basically all this is. And then whenever it's done, they're going to donate it back to us.
Okay. That was my original thought on this. We just had this donated to us, and now we're giving it to them. You know, it seemed like we get it back again. after-
We're getting
after
some
it's
free
finished.
sidewalks.
Yeah, yeah. With
It's
no-
only
the
because then
sidewalks.
we can't charge them for their access, which again, should be a
That's
simple
right.
one-page MOU that says we won't do it.
We're saying they're not eminent domaining
So I'll move to authorize it. You ready?
Yeah.
Move to authorize the city administrator to sign a donation agreement with temporary construction easement in Blaine County for the state routes to school sidewalk construction.
I will second it.
We have a second?
Yep.
Okay. Further discussion? And I will say that the lady's name escapes me. She's a nice lady for the county.
You just said Taylor. right?
Yeah, her. And she took on Lowell as a pilot project to do other safe routes to school in the county. And so, you know, she could have picked any small town, but we had she liked us, so. And Becky Taylor finally came to me. And so she's done great work for us. She's done the stoplight, the thing over on Wetlow and all of that. And so God love her. And so all those in favor of motion to authorize the city administrator to sign a donation agreement and temporary construction easement with the Lane County for the safe routes to school sidewalk construction project, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Good. Okay, any other business, Mr. Cottle?
I don't have anything.
Counselors?
Any update on the phase 2? Were they out there digging test holes?
Oh, they went out there and they scanned, they dug the holes up. They sent the soil and the groundwater to the lab. They did detect an anomalous section that's marked off by some white flags. So when I get the final report, hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll get a bigger picture of what needs to be done out there.
So maybe by the end of the month.
Yeah,
The good thing was is the flags looked like about the size of 2 of these tables, so it's not like it's half the acreage. So that's the, in my mind, that was a positive, like just seeing them out there. So
do you have something, Max, for other business?
No.
Okay.
few little mayor comments from meetings. The drawdown that's going to be done on Fall Creek and here, the information is going to start coming out fairly soon from the Corps and whoever, but they're going to start announcing how and when, if it's going to happen this year or if it's going to be next year, and how and when and everything about it. The Gales fires and the Chris fires up there, the forest people got $78 million spread over 4 years for disaster recovery. So that's a good thing. So that's all I have. Anybody else? Anything? Okay. Let's adjourn this at 7:53.
Her piece of shit.